What up, y'all? So big old debate, there'll be no debate. What's up, collective? Alright, so let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. We good here? Let's take a second. Let's take a deep breath. I am present. I am right on time. And you are right where you're supposed to be. So let's go a little something here, you know? So scientifically, the Rh bloodline is often linked to higher levels of intuition. I don't know if you are familiar with the Rh bloodline. If you are a part of the Rh bloodline, I assume if this video reached you, there's some sort of significance. Because I am not a nobody. I put this out there for the ones who forgot that they're not nobodies either. Now, I had a dream, and it wasn't some made-up dream. This isn't some made-up situation that I came up with here. I had multiple dreams that were interesting. One of them was I just realized that I was in the bathroom, right? I came to, and I'm standing in the bathroom here where I stay. And when I looked up into the mirror, I was a bright blue glowing being. And this, like, I don't always remember my dreams as much as I used to when I was a kid. I used to remember all of them, but often I can have dreams that I know in the morning that like it was impactful and that I had some sort of crazy dream, but I can't always remember it. This one I remembered. So I ended up looking into it, and what I ended up coming to was Mahabhatar Babaji. You know, you can take it how it resonates. We're all on our own situation here, our own exploration of soul, of the one, the universal, right? These are the things that I identify with. I am an Rh bloodline. My mother had to get a shot, so I wasn't, destroyed in the womb, so that I wasn't destroyed inside of her womb, because I was seen as, a toxin or something in her body. It's really interesting. But the Rh bloodline is often linked to higher intuition. Lower body temperatures. My hands are always cold, but I like to say warm, cold hands, warm heart. They even have a piercing blue or green eye color. In many ancient traditions, this was the blood of the blue beings. This is interesting. This is, factual stuff you could look up. And again, it's for you to take in or not to. But I really do like the idea of this blue being, because whether it be in Hindu or some of the older teachings that follow the same ideas, I like to think about Vishnu is the assimilated version of the feminine and the masculine. The skin color is blue because, right, you turn water from wine, you part the Red Sea, the fish, and swimming in your veins. You know what I mean? My mind likes to wander. I got to stop myself from going too far. Sometimes I don't. You know what I mean? It's funny. Some people might resonate with it. Some people find it interesting. Some people pick up their own shit off of it. And I think that's one of the good parts about connecting with people, because whenever I say profound shit, well, shit that they find profound, they draw their own conclusions from it. And sometimes that's far off the direction I was heading. So when we stay open, like I do, I'd love to hear where you go. Then we just start building together. So just imagine a whole room full of people doing this. um, the blue beings, or Elohim, Adonai, right? Those who stand out standard human cycles. They stand on the outside of the system, basically. Elohim, that's funny. I love him. I love him. I love him. Uh, the space in between. Okay. Siblings. The space in between siblings. Hear me out. You are the third child. This was me. But again, this might be you. See, like my mother had a miscarriage in between. So I have my older sister, but there was a sibling in between. I carry energy for two lives. The Rh negative factor is a biological signature, okay? It ties to the entire synchronicity. My mother had to get this shot, the RHO GAM, right? It's because the incompatibility, the incompatibility between her and the blue being she was carrying. Imagine that. This blue blood, or Rh negative lineage, is often discussed in sovereignty and esoteric circles. It's discussed and described as a distinct frequency. The physical, yeah. The 33rd fear. Oh man, the 33rd president. Right. Turning 33 this year on 124. I'm living in the backyard of the 33rd president. He carries a weight of attaining a peak. In many traditions, 33 represents the completion of a cycle or full mastery of one's path. Confirmation. You see, the fact that Truman, a man deeply, immersed in the 33rd degree symbolism, Masonic, it's interesting, governed from the very soil that I stand on here. A direct link between my personal timeline and governed powers of state. Maybe you too. It's not just me. I mean, this whole thing's a living rock. We're all placed in these significant places for a reason. This goes back to Nostradamus. There's things, Gernsback, who talked about this. Hell, like all throughout history, there's, even if you want to refer to the Bible, I mean, Think about it. It's the same thing that we're coming to here. What if, like, the whole idea of Jesus returning, here's the sun, right? Sun's been shining like a motherfucker, even though it's cold as fuck outside where I'm at. Uh, it's been shining deep, and whenever I look into it, I notice a difference. It's as if I'm looking down that tunnel of the light, and instead of seeing the light shining like this, it looks more like it's shining like this. And, when there's geomagnetic storms in the space above, it causes disruption the same way in our conscious, the same way that a school of fish is disrupted by a thunderstorm. Okay, so what if the waking or the returning of Christ is just this whole realization, like the frequencies are bringing in our inner world, is starting to reflect. So it doesn't have to be as deep as we like to use our imagination to draw these grand things, but then we like to sabotage ourselves at the same time and say that it's ridiculous. So let's not dig too deep. Some things are just representations to explain, what can't really be explained. It's only felt or experienced. There's a mention, Zion, it brings focus squarely to Independence, Missouri. Another thing that has been talked about through history, Mormonism, John the Baptist, right? But then there's John Smith. The Parker name. The name Parker has deep roots in early history, the movement. Whether you're looking at John Parker, the Parker Revolt, various families who helped settle. It's interesting. There's a lot more to dig into. I'm kind of scatterbrained on my notes. I don't have them in a presentable fashion at the moment. So some of it I'm just practicing my dialogue with myself, with the reflection, just practicing being open and transparent. I am who I am. I'm not perfect. I face things and I still do things sometimes and I'm not always proud of. But I don't shun myself for it. I just start to realize the pattern, and I start to ask myself, and I start to speak to myself differently. What if I'm not addicted? It's a program, like you do routines, and routines end up becoming, I guess, a metaphorical habit. You get addicted to the routine, to the cycle, and then our fear of the unknown sometimes holds us back because we want to do better and we want to do different things, but we fear anything other than what we know. It's not necessarily that we think we deserve it, but we just don't know any better. So it's scary, to take that step forward and find out if the rock's going to hold you. You know what I mean? But we're walking on water. If you go stiff, you're going to sink. You let the water hold you. You have trust. You have, it's not even faith, it's a knowing. Because faith would require the assumption that you don't already know. It's just reaffirming it. Before you were ever named, Hear me out. Before you were ever named, before you were named. Someone chose letters, a sound, label to identify a version of you that wasn't that. To, script, prescript, if you will, doctor your label, something that wasn't you, put you in a role for a movie that you weren't even prepared to play. You didn't read the script, you didn't fucking ask for it. you, that's one thing I find funny about Big Daddy, the whole, what do you want your name to be? Frankenstein, right? So he didn't, he let him do that. But the irony, I think, of that is we're all thinking that is dope, but whenever you get older, you're of course not going to keep that. That's because we're constantly evolving, we're constantly changing. The idea for them to have a singular name, it tells you in that thought right there. We're rational. We don't need to put these definitive things, a label like I'm an addict, he's a cheater, she's a cheater, she's disloyal, he's depressed, he's suicidal. That's no. You are what you choose to name. And if you don't name it, then it doesn't have to be anything. You are the nothing that was there and came into this world. That's the name that you had. So the nothing is what created everything. Think about it. It's exactly how it's described in the Bible. So we break down these ideas of what society projected us to be when we go in and we do this work. When we ask ourselves, like what makes us feel this way, or what programming did I watch, or what subtle, like, oh, you're just like your dad, boys will be boys, all these things, like mother, like daughter. These are just examples, but it seems silly, but we don't realize that until we get older. I mean, think about it. How many of us, like, I know I have, like, my dad wasn't always around, but I heard you're just like your dad whenever I got frustrated with things, and that carried into my adulthood. Like, rather, it was, I believe that I was like my dad. It was like I was constantly arguing with myself against that phrase still echoing in my head. Like, no, I'm not. What am I talking about? What a waste of my beautiful energy. You know what I mean? You gotta shave that shit down. You walked with it. You've walked with this name, sometimes believed it. And somewhere along the way, the name became a cage, or maybe even a shadow, lingering, like creating this separation between the nothing and whatever the something is that you were saying or hearing. Like, I had this thought the other day, and I think it's appropriate for right now. The shadow only exists if you assume the sun rises, externally. You are the sun. That one with the 12 surrounding, the apostles, 12 angry men, the planets, hours, hours, right? So tell me that words have the meaning they do whenever I just sit here and twist and play with them in a silly sense, but they all tie together into this grand one scheme that kind of like blends it all into one. It's nothing. So why do we hold such heavy separate weight for each one of these labels? That's what I'm going to leave you with today. A name doesn't define the river, and it doesn't define the fire. Be blessed, be kind, be conscious, be present.